Welcome, everybody, to the podcast, The Best Life Ever. And today I have a very special guest. His name is Augustus, or Gus, as we call him, Osgood. And he started a business as a concierge nurse. I thought, oh my gosh, this is a guy I want to talk to because I'm in the senior living industry and work with retirement people. And I love concierge doctors. I think they're the way to go today if you can, afford it. And I was just really curious about what he was doing. So he's going to share with us how he got there, how he got to be a nurse, and a lot of other things. And so, welcome, Gus. It's really good to have you. How are you today?
I'm great, Connie. Thank you for inviting me on. I've been quite excited about this for the last couple of weeks since our first meeting.
That's good. Now, here we have a nice young man. He's about to have your first baby, right? Is it your
Correct.
first?
Yeah, due in early
Wow.
September,
That's
April 4th.
awesome. Yay. Okay. I love that. I mean, I just love those babies coming into the world. My family has a baby, one or two every year, and there's, I think, probably 80 of us now. So every year we have a baby. We're Italian, we produce like
Oh
rabbits.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but tell the listeners just a little bit about you. Let's start off just getting to know you a little bit, whatever you want to tell us. There's, a bunch of questions we'll have as we go on, but go for it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Augustus James Osgood. My friends know me as Gus. I am from a small town in southern Middle Tennessee called Fayetteville,
Oh,
just north of Huntsville, Alabama. That's
yeah.
where I was born. I spent the majority of my life in Fayetteville, my entire childhood through high school. Um, Went to the University of Tennessee, graduated from high school in 2014. I'm 30 years old now.
Wow.
Uh, and yeah, kind of found my way into nursing, just coming from a small town that where most people have blue collar jobs and service jobs.
Mhm.
Um, I knew I had the ability to go to college. Was pretty undecided through most of my high school years. I had a friend in high school who was a couple years older than me, who I kind of looked up to as an older brother. I'm the oldest of my siblings. I have one younger brother,
Okay.
so he was always kind of someone that I kind of looked up to, that was in my same age group. We played high school baseball together,
Mm.
and he was kind of one of those guys who was known for his academic abilities, not so much his physical abilities, but
Yeah.
I always looked up to him and knew that he was going to go places in life, and so tried to kind of model my academic career after him.
That's
Um,
great.
yeah, I graduated from the University of Tennessee with my nursing degree in 2014.
Okay.
Aside from my friend who kind of inspired me to go down that path, both of my parents were in service industries. My dad has a bit of a military background, and when he got out of the Marine Corps, he used his GI Bill to start a HVAC company.
Okay.
Um, did that for 20 some years, and my mother is a teacher. So I guess that's a little bit of kind of where my interest in the service industry kind of stems from.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, when did you decide that you wanted to get into nursing? I know your friend influenced you, but like, tell us a little bit about what was at the heart of that.
Yeah, so I mean, growing up, I think seeing my parents both work in service type industries, um, doing things growing up like mission trips and really getting a sense of fulfillment from
Mm.
serving others. I would say that was a lot of it, and also just again coming from a small town and wanting to go down a career path that had a little bit of job security. I knew as a nurse, that would always be that would never be a problem.
Yeah.
But I think mainly just seeing the immediate impact that you can have on someone who is likely at most oftentimes their worst. I was a critical care nurse for
Mhm.
8 years, and there's
Oh,
not much of a higher level of care than that. So
mhm.
definitely have a lot of good stories about the impact that both myself and my colleagues and the medical team around me has made on some of these patients. And yeah, I think just being able to see the immediate impact that you can make on someone's life was a lot of what drove me down that path.
Well, that makes me wonder, like, how did you, like, I had thought about being a nurse, but I have such a good nose that I would never make it. I mean, my parents said, you could be a secretary or a nurse. And I said, well, I have a bionic nose, so the nurse thing is out. And I don't spell well, so the secretary thing is out. So I'm going to go into sales.
Right.
When no one else, no women were in sales, I decided I'm going into sales. Um, but so what, and also I'm really into like staying healthy because there was a time that I was very sick and almost died. And so I went on this natural path, rather than um, do medications and stuff. I'm very natural. So that's what drove me is when I got sick and I thought, I never want to do this again. And so I'm going to go on this path. So what is there an incident in your life that created you to go on that path or something about the medical industry that really inspired you?
I don't know if there was anything really significant that drove me down that path. I mean, in school, I always kind of had more of an interest in the sciences. Um, I grew up on a farm. I don't know if that's where maybe some of the like you're saying that you have a good nose, and a lot of times that drives people away from doing anything in the medical field.
Yeah.
I don't really know. None of that has really ever affected me. I mean, of course, I've seen some interesting things, and I work in a surgical area now. As I'm trying to get my business going.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I don't know why, but that none of that has ever really bothered me too much. But no, I wouldn't say there was a significant event. I do know there were some things that led me not to take other career paths. For instance, I spent most of my summers in high school working with my dad, installing uh, AC units in people's houses when, of course, we're going in there when there's no AC. It's the middle of the summer in Tennessee and it's hot and humid. And, as the young guy, I'm having to do a lot of the grunt work, crawling under the house and hanging duct work and, working in the hot attic. And I think that was definitely one of those points where I was like, okay, I know that I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I want to work in the AC, not work on it. So
Uh-huh.
maybe that was one of the things that drove me into nursing
Yeah.
by uh, by accident. Not wanting to do um, any kind of, which I guess nursing in a sense is manual labor, which I do enjoy to an extent. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have to. I mean, if you're a nurse, you're still going to be doing some heavy lifting, right?
yeah,
So,
oh yeah,
kind of like,
definitely.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely. I mean, there's
So,
there was a lot of days where you don't sit down. You're doing well to go to the bathroom and get
yeah,
some type of nutrition in you.
yeah. I know. I mean, I've seen it. I've being in the healthcare industry on the level of seniors. I've seen some things that the CNAs have to do, and the director of nursing, and the people that are caregiver. And yeah, it's I'm glad I didn't pick that route
Yeah.
because I don't think I could have done it, honestly. It would have
I
been a
mean, that's,
bad choice. But I totally admire them. I just stand there and watch, and I think, wow, it's not that I'm not a servant oriented person. I am, but I'm not a good caregiver like that.
well,
So
I think, I mean, to an extent, everyone is kind of led down different paths, and you kind of learn to exploit your strengths, and that leads everyone into different fields, and what maybe someone else's strength might not be yours, and I don't think we're all definitely not all meant to do the same thing. So
well, thank goodness, right? We
yeah,
all have
right.
our special gifts. So, what did your parents say when you said you were going to UT and you were going into the nursing program?
Yeah, I think my parents were. were thrilled. UT's nursing program is one of the best in the country. I do think I had a bit of an advantage being a male, as you know, this is a female-dominated industry.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think they could have been any happier. I said from the time I was a young kid that I was going to go to UT. Don't know what I was
Uh-huh.
going to major in, but I was going to go. More so, you know, that the reason behind that was I didn't miss a Saturday uh, watching Tennessee football, and
Oh, yeah.
you know, it kind of I guess led me there for maybe some of the wrong reasons.
Um,
But yeah, I think they were thrilled and obviously very proud.
that's great. My grandson went to UT, so I went to a couple of the
Oh yeah,
games, and I just loved the Orange Sea. I mean, I was like, I have pictures. I was just awestruck of everybody had on orange. I mean, that is some really fans that are, really patriotic. I mean, they are so into that game.
yeah,
It
it
was
is
fun.
quite the experience. I remember my first game going with my dad, and I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. I
It
want to
is
do
amazing.
this every
I agree.
Saturday.
I agree. I agree. So, all right. So let's learn a little bit more about you. So you're living in Tennessee
Mhm.
now, Middle Tennessee. That's how I met. That's how I met Gus. We met at a event at a senior living industry and just really hit it off. Um, so I know you live not too far from me actually, and then you're married, right?
I
Tell
am
me a
married.
little. Tell me a little about your wife. Where'd you meet her? And she's
Yeah,
pregnant now. Yep.
yeah. So I met my wife in nursing school. We met would have been our senior year after we had actually both accepted jobs. I was going to be going to uh, Atlanta, working at Emory in downtown,
Oh,
and
wow.
she had accepted a job in Charlotte. And so we started dating late into our senior year with about a couple of months left of school, and just I guess decided that we were going to make this long distance thing work. And
Mhm.
we got married a couple years later. And after we got married, we actually did some travel nursing contracts together around the country for about 4 years, and decided to come back home, settle down here in the Nashville, Brentwood area. That's where she grew up and spent her entire childhood. And so, just with the proximity close to downtown and the hospitals and the jobs, this is where we decided to settle back down. And yeah, we're expecting our first child here in about 10 weeks.
Whoa, that's exciting. I'll be
Uh,
glad to hear that. And I bet you probably know the what it's going to be already, but you don't have to tell us if you don't
baby
want
boy, yeah, baby boy.
to.
We're
So, so when you were a traveling nurse, I've done traveling training, and believe it or not, one of my friends is a nurse, and she ended up doing traveling nursing in the same town as me, is in California. And she was just like a half hour away. I was in Pleasanton near San Francisco. And I called her one day and I said, "Hey, I'm in California." And she goes, "Well, I'm in California too." And I go, "Oh, come on, Maxine. You got to compete with me." She goes, "No, really, I'm in California. I took a traveling nursing job." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I took a traveling training job." And so we spent the whole year and a half in California, even though we were both at the time from Georgia, and we just had a blast. It was just a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. I had a friend that I could pal around with that far away, so it was pretty good. But so where did you go when you were doing that?
Yeah, we had a pretty unique experience. We started traveling together in the summer of 2022. Our first contract was in Washington, D.C. We were
Mhm.
there for about 3 months. After that contract, we went to Charlottesville, Virginia, which
Okay.
is from DC, is about 2 hours south. So kind of stayed right there in that area. From Charlottesville, we went to Billings, Montana. We
Oh,
were in
wow.
Montana for 9 months. We drove there, so that was a pretty cool experience. Just traveling across the country. I'd actually been out there once before because my grandfather was born and raised there. He was actually born in the hospital that I took a travel contract at.
Oh my
So
goodness.
Pretty cool,
Wow,
full circle
that is
moment.
cool.
Yeah.
Was it, hope it was summertime?
It
Was
was.
it?
We were there from April until mid-December.
Oh,
Yeah, we saw so much and just had the absolute best time. Met some of the best people from Billings, Montana. So we were there for 9 months. We went to Los Angeles, so
oh,
pretty big change there.
wow.
Um,
Yeah.
we were in Los Angeles for we were in Los Angeles for 6 months, January to June, and then from there went to Boston.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Love Boston.
Boston, I'll pick up there.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, from Los Angeles, we were there for 6 months. We went to Boston. We were there for 3 months. Being in the New England area in the fall was pretty magical. We had the best time there. I don't think things could have worked out any better for us. The places that we got to go, the people that we got to meet, the institutions that we got to work in. I mean, some of the top
Wow.
notch medical care gave at least me, I know, some great experience and great clinical background, which I think will certainly help build this business.
Yeah.
Um, and then from Boston, we came home for the holidays and decided that we wanted to stay put after we were home for about a month and
Mm.
we were trying to weigh the options and after being home for that amount of time, especially around Thanksgiving and Christmas, like it's kind of hard to leave now, and
Yeah.
so we decided to stay put and find full time jobs here in the Nashville area. And um, during that time is when I started to build my concierge nursing business.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
so, yeah, I kind of I guess just got this idea through the different places that we visited, the different experiences I had in different parts of the country, um, seeing some things that were preventative that we're causing individuals to come into the hospitals, come into the ER, resulting in long uh, ICU stays, and a lot of
Mm.
times it was for very simple things like missed medications or refills or any kind of uh, mismanagement of their chronic diseases.
Yeah.
Uh, and for a lot of people, if you don't have any clinical background, managing these things can be quite confusing.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, what I'm hoping to do, setting out on this new venture, is to try to be a little more proactive and help these clients and these families navigate some of these things that they may not be able to manage on their own to prevent these long hospital stays and potential crises. Just kind of give them more of a sense of control and um, independence in managing their medical care.
I'll tell you what, I am a layman, but recently, and I had this experience with my mom as well, but I have a neighbor that had a stroke and she's on her own. And one day I called her to say, hey, you want to come on over for dinner? And she was not there. She texted back and said, I'm in the hospital. And so I went over to the hospital to see her. And I'm like, why are you here? And she's like, they don't know. They can't find anything wrong. And so I said, well, here's me. Well, what are your symptoms? I'm asking her, and she's like, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I can't do anything. And when I went to the doctor, they said my blood pressure was so low, they sent me right over to the emergency room, but there's nothing wrong. So the nurse comes in and we're talking, and I'm like, she gave him permission to share with me her what's going on. And I said to him, well, what about her medicine? Look at all the medicine she's taken. Do you think that a few of those are lowering her blood pressure? Because I had that with my mom. She had like 18 bottles on the table when I came to visit once, and 5 or 6 of them lowered her blood pressure. They were all for different things. Let's
Right.
say one was for a pimple, one was for a wart, and including in that was lowering your blood pressure.
Of course, yeah,
So she had 6 medicines that were dragging her down, my mom, and we thought she was dying, right? And find out that it was her medicine. Same thing with my friend. So the nurse was really cooperative. I mean, he didn't know me from hole in the ground, but he goes, I'm gonna check. So he checks her medicine. Sure enough, five of them had lower blood pressure abilities, and they got her off four of them. She went home.
Yeah.
So you know this thing about medicine. Oh my gosh, that's something that you could put on the forefront and did a lot of clients that way. You know, that'd be a great lead because there are a lot of people that don't have any clue, and the doctors don't have a clue either. They don't look to see, they go, okay, this is for that. And they don't look to see all the other things that it does. And I know
Yeah.
that for a fact because I asked, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. And, I think they, in these situations get a lot of the blame. And I think unrightfully so. And, I don't know what the ultimate fix is. This is just something that I saw a need for and an opportunity to hopefully solve that problem for a lot of families and a lot of patients. But the way that our medical system is designed is, these doctors, they have such a huge list of patients that they have to see, and I don't even like it seems impossible to me that they
Yeah.
can know all the ins and outs of what someone's taking, what their medical history looks like, and how different things prescribed from different doctors and specialists could be working in combination to their detriment almost.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I don't have the solution for um, any of this. I'm hoping that the service could find the right person and the right family who's looking to be proactive and
Yeah. Well, you
getting
can be a
these
support system
crises.
for it. Yeah, for sure. So, from my understanding, a couple years ago, I got introduced to concierge doctors, and I got major excited because they said, "Look, if you go to a regular doctor under your insurance and you have an elbow ache, they can look at that elbow. But if you go, and by the way, it's my hand hurts too. They're like, well, we have to make another appointment for that." And I'm like, well, isn't the elbow connected to the hand, And they're like, yeah, but we have to have another appointment. Concierge doctors can cover all of you. You could go in and you can be looked at everywhere. So you could go in with three aches and pains and they can connect them and realize they're all connected somehow.
Yeah.
And that's like the old, country doctor when they used to come to your house and they could look at everything and they were, had some knowledge in everything. And I was like major excited. So you come up and I'm here, this concierge nurse, and I got really excited about you as well because I thought this has got to be the way of the future. So people aren't wasting their time, and getting sicker. So tell me and the audience, like what would a perfect day look like for you as a concierge nurse? Like with a client, what do you do? How do you approach your day or an appointment?
Yeah, so my typical day, we construct our services around what the client and family needs. In someone's health picture, not everyone's clinical picture looks the same. So our goal is to meet with the client, meet with the family, get an understanding of what problems they're facing and how we could come into the picture and help them to solve those problems, whether it be medication management, if they're having a hard time understanding, when to take medications and the potential side effects to look out for. And what I've found in that is that educating our patients and clients is such an undervalued tool because
Yeah.
when you can understand why you're doing something, it gives you a
Mhm.
little bit more control in executing that process, whether it be taking your morning medications before your breakfast or with your breakfast, however it's prescribed. You have an understanding of why I'm supposed to do it that way, or
Mhm.
why I'm supposed to take my blood pressure before I take my blood pressure medication, because what if my blood pressure is low? And it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like a very difficult thing to understand. Um, but for a lot of patients, they know their morning medications by the shape and the color of the pill, not by the
Mhm.
name. And that's
Yeah.
so dangerous.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I guess to get back to your question, an ideal day would just be stepping in wherever our clients and families need help, whether that be Maybe there's an upcoming appointment with a cardiologist that,
Mhm.
we've noticed some heart palpitations or a low blood pressure or some dizziness when standing. These are things we would go in with the family, address in a meeting like setting, so that we can prepare ourselves and the family and client for this appointment. If the client is inclined, we do offer going to appointments with our clients so that we can sit in there with them, listen to the
Wow.
doctor for ourselves. Of course, this requires the permission of our uh, patients and families to allow us to
Mhm.
go with them, but to kind of be there as their confidant, their advocate to help them process these treatments and these prescribed medications. I'm sure you've been to the doctor before, but a lot of times it's a very quick in and out.
Definitely.
Spend more time waiting than you actually spend in the
Yeah.
room with the doctor, and that's because they have five other patients waiting down the hall that they have to go see, and then they have to write a note that they had an encounter with all of these with all their patients. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I would say there's really not a typical day.
Right.
Um, it's just whatever our clients have problems facing, we attempt to step in where we can. We're a supportive nursing service. We can't come in and diagnose and solve all your problems. We're not a substitute for any kind of emergency service or primary care physician.
Mhm.
Um, the the idea behind this business is to work with you in the background to help you maintain and enhance whatever independence you have, whether that be living independently at home or in an independent living center, or assisted living. I mean, there's an argument to be made that even for our seniors who are in assisted living, they do still have some independence.
Oh,
Um,
definitely. I mean, the home care go into assisted living. So,
right,
you go in and you get in and you're in a community and they're not with you every hour. So there's families that send in home care. But that makes me think so people understand better. So I always kind of focus more on the senior living, but you're going to be serving every age or whatever a person needs you. But in the senior living, there's home care, which I think you could probably partner with home care because they don't do anything medical. And I
yeah,
could see where you would definitely be a good partner to home care agencies. And then there's home health, which can only go in 1 hour or 2 hours. And that's only because the hospital or the skilled nursing send them, and it's only for a period of 4 to 6 weeks, whatever Medicare will cover, correct? So
right.
then you could also follow up with there, but they take Medicare or insurance. Do you take insurance?
I don't. No, we are
Okay.
a private
So
pay service, similar to how a concierge doctor, as you were mentioning before, it's the
okay. Yeah.
same kind of structure.
Okay. So it's a
And
private pay.
of course, I would love to make this easier payment wise on clients. Unfortunately, if it's not a necessary service, insurance isn't gonna cover it,
Yeah. But,
which is
but
a
that's what, yeah.
whole other
But that's
issue.
what, yeah, that's what makes you concierge though.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
insurance. I don't know why I asked that question because it's no insurance. That's the whole benefit of it. And you're not going to pay $50,000 to go see your doctor, right?
right,
And
right,
yeah.
and just having it's essentially a premium that you pay to have to have that access and a personal relationship with your concierge doctor, or in this situation your concierge nurse. Being able to call them directly, ask them
Mhm.
a question. As long as it's nothing emergent or life threatening, but if you're noticing that something might be a little off, it's a perfect time to raise that concern to prevent that snowballing into a larger problem. When I first had this idea to start this, of course, I saw these gaps in care when I was
Mhm.
on the inpatient side, um, of as I was saying before, these little things that were being missed, um, by both the patient, family, and medical team.
Mhm.
Um, so it was obvious that there was a need for a service like this, but in building the business, thinking about a possible pricing structure, there was a lot of times where I questioned myself of, okay, is someone actually going to pay for this? And I kind of battled with it internally for a while because I was excited about starting something new, but it's not a very common service, and where it is known about, it's not well
Well,
known.
it's not common today, but it was common in the past, and it worked.
Yeah, I,
So,
I I had a little bit of validation in my thoughts recently with my own family. My grandmother was hospitalized for a few days, and she wouldn't mind me saying this, but it was because of something that could have easily been prevented.
mm,
Um, and this hospital stay resulted in her having to be in a skilled nursing facility for several weeks
oh
after
my God.
discharge because she lives at home by
Mm,
herself. She's
yeah,
independent. She's able to drive. She's able to cook for herself. She walks around the farm. Um, but because there wasn't someone there checking in on her and she wasn't forthcoming with the symptoms she was experiencing, this snowballed into a larger problem.
mm,
And of course, in my line of work, I felt bad because I'm just like, I should be helping her prevent
yeah,
this situation. But
yeah,
I was on the phone with my mom, who was, you know, by her side every day in the hospital, trying to navigate what's
yeah,
next. Can we go back home? Do we need to stay here? Do we need to request a transfer to another hospital? I'm having a hard time understanding what's going on. And here I am getting off of work, trying to have these conversations with her and try and comprehend what she's telling me, what she's heard from the care team, and just trying to make sense of it to try to make her feel better. And finally, a few days had gone by. She was there for about 4 or 5 days, and I could tell she was very stressed. She just did not know what to do.
yeah,
The care team was talking about discharge, and she was questioning if my grandmother was ready for discharge, and I could just tell she was spiraling. And I asked her, I was like, Mom, like, would it bring you peace if I came down
oh,
there
Connie.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what I do, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Call Connie. She'll give you
Well,
peace.
and
Yeah,
just in terms of the clinical decision making,
yeah,
would it bring you peace if I came down there and listened to what the doctor had to say and
uh-huh,
tried to help you
yeah,
with this, in person instead of over the phone? And she just broke down crying, and she was like, "Yes, that would help me so
yeah,
much." And um, just being present there with somewhat of some clinical knowledge about the situation gave her so much peace of mind in knowing
yeah,
that she was making the right decision. And it didn't require a lot of effort on my end because I possess that clinical knowledge. But this is a common occurrence for a lot of families who are navigating these care transitions, and it can be so stressful for these
yeah.
people.
And
That's
yeah,
another service, where we would try to step in and hopefully bring some clarity and peace of
yeah. So you could do the
mind.
clinical part. I do the emotional part.
Right.
And because I know so much about where all the options for senior living, like I know everything, honestly. I could go to your mom and give her all the options so that she could be logical and actually guide her through it so that she would have peace of mind in that area where you could call definitely on the medical side,
Right.
she could be leaning on you. But I've done that with several people. Their families have called and said this is what's happening. They had no clue. When my talk is called, I had no idea. And that's because
Right.
that's what I hear all the time. I had no idea. I had no idea. And then they're stopping their life. Adult children end up stopping their life completely because there's really no plan and they have no idea of all the options and all the things they can do to bring peace to everybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yes, what you do is really, and I'm thinking, while you're talking, I'm envisioning, like where some of the areas that you could be of great service and how this service could really blow up because it's extending people's medical where there's this whole big hole, like there's a pothole that you're filling so that you could go to them. So you go to their house, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So you go to
House,
their house. Yeah.
in senior living facility, wherever they may be. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So if there's so let's just put together a scenario because I
Yeah.
think that'll help people because what you're doing is new. So it kind of leaves a question in people's mind, like exactly, how can I use this concierge service?
Sure.
So let's use my mom. My mother started having medical issues when she was 80, and then it was discovered that her aorta was going to have to be replaced,
Mhm.
and she was very stubborn and didn't want to have it replaced. So she said, "Well, I'm just going to wait; it'll get better by itself." She was just stubborn. And within a year, she couldn't walk or breathe or anything like that. And the family, there's 6 children, we're all trying to navigate this with our lives, our family, our work, and also trying to maintain. It's very, very powerful situation. Even if you have 13 kids and all of them are trying to help, it's so consuming, all consuming, which is why I started my retirement advocacy business because I can eliminate all of that. But during that time, that year that she was, lingering, we could have had you come. Well, of course you couldn't. It was in Chicago. But let's just say we could have had a concierge nurse come and help out because we can. Home health isn't going to come, and we had 2 caregivers helping her out during the day and stuff when we weren't there. That wasn't enough. They weren't medical, and so nobody knew medically what was going on, and somebody like you could have come in and maintained and watched and advised us like this is what we need to do. We need to talk her into going for the surgery or whatever. So um
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think just having someone who can educate and, provide some insight into, you know, this is why the procedure, these are the benefits of having the procedure completed.
Mhm.
Obviously, depending on what kind of mental state your mom was in at the time, she may have been capable of making her decisions, but
Yep, she was.
it's much better when you're able to make those decisions when you have all the information available to you.
It's
Because
more,
what is
yeah.
the likelihood that someone with no clinical background is going to understand when a cardiac surgeon comes and
Hmm.
talks to you at the bedside and explains why you need your aortic valve replaced?
Yeah.
I mean,
And
it's so intimidating too because doctors are very um, you know, respected in any kind of industry. That's a ton of school. They've put in a ton of work to get that title, and when they're standing at the bedside, it's the same reason when you go in for a checkup. They call it the what is it, the white coat syndrome. Your
mm,
blood pressure spikes up, because you're like, oh,
yeah. Hmm.
doctor's here.
Yeah, but well, think of what I think she would love a young man like you that had all these credentials, and she would probably have listened to you.
And
That's the
that
thing that I find as a retirement coach or advocacy. I or
absolutely.
an advocate. They'll listen to me,
Mhm.
but they won't listen to their kids. And
Yes,
I could
I see
see
that.
that.
I see that so much. The amount of things that I've heard come from, either whether it be standing at the bedside or going into someone's home, and what they've told me in confidence versus what they would never tell their family or their daughter or son. It's like, okay, well, we probably need to make this known.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the problem.
yeah. So that's another area where you could have helped us. But my
Definitely.
mom did live to be 93, and she passed away. So she lived a good 13 years with all the medical, it was a medical crisis from that time on.
Yeah.
So that was all those years were all 6 of us. And I did move back to Tennessee for a while, but then I came back until she passed. And then I went back to Tennessee. I've been back here 3 times, lived here 3 times, and I'm gonna stay. But it was I could see where someone like you could be like a golden child walking in and saying, I'll take over on this end. I'll make sure your mom doesn't need to go to the doctor, or if there's something that's really critical that you are
Sure.
aware of or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
So does that kind of describe maybe one of the things you can do?
Yeah. I think it's been, somewhat difficult to, kind of nail down or, perfectly describe to other professionals in our network here, exactly what I do,
Hmm.
um, because it is so not that it's a new concept. Everyone understands that there's a need for it, but as
Yeah.
far as like an ideal client or a situation, I've had other professionals group me into the care management circle or the home health circle, and asking me to provide skilled nursing care.
Oh,
And so I'm glad you kind of touched on it because the idea behind the concierge nursing model is we come in to help these individuals maintain independence behind the scenes, between appointments, between procedures.
hmm.
When it comes to navigating like a life transition,
Hmm.
when it comes to, well, we don't know if mom can return home independently. She probably needs a higher level of care,
Hmm.
or she needs physical therapy 3 times a week, or needs home health arranged.
Yeah.
I'm not the person for that. I don't have experience with care management and arranging services. My business is designed to come in before these transitions happen and hopefully preserve more time before that
That's
transition happens.
it. That's a good word. I think that what you do is prevent them, number one, from going back to the hospital. Number two, from going into an assisted living when they kind of maybe don't want to, and they have enough care. They have enough
Sure.
people caring for them that you can keep that at the medical aspect intact. So they don't have
Yeah.
to send their parents to an assisted living if they don't want to, which is a lot more expensive than what you would ever
Sure.
charge.
And
So
many,
yeah. So
many,
you're doing not only are you maintaining their health, but you're preventing something else worse from happening. Is that right?
right. And just the little things, many adult children have busy lives. I'm thinking about my mom right now.
Hmm.
She's got her first grandchild on the way. She's a teacher. She's off for the summer. Her first 2 weeks have been spent in the hospital and driving back and forth to skilled nursing to watch over my grandma. And of course, I wish I was closer, that I could be more present. I've helped her, try to maintain her knowledge of medications and appointments and stuff like that from afar. But I
Hmm.
wish there was a service like mine back home,
Well,
because
let's talk about that.
yeah,
Would Zoom not work
it
in
would.
in a lot of situations?
Sure, yes,
Yeah.
it could. It could. As a I honestly never thought about that, Connie. I
Yeah.
so you may have just given me another
Add
blue
it on
ocean.
for sure.
um,
Yeah.
But we talk on the phone, check in. But again, too, that's another thing. We talk a lot about the adult child, whether it be the daughter or son, remaining the son or daughter, not the caregiver. And just like you were saying, a lot of times with family, there's not a lot of, I don't want to say honesty, but there's some things that are kind of left close to the chest when you're communicating with your family when it comes to your health, that you would otherwise communicate with a complete stranger.
Mhm.
And so I guess that's kind of what I mean behind, like, I wish there was a service like this for my grandmother back home, because there have been instances where, I've been sitting in her living room and
Mhm.
she's like, oh, well, my blood pressure's been, and she's very good about staying on top of things. She organizes her meds, she takes her blood pressure, but when there's a problem, she doesn't want to come forward. And I think a lot of that is, she doesn't want to be a bother or feel like she's being a bother to family. And I can understand that. You don't want to feel like you're imposing on um, anybody else's time. But there's a situation where I was visiting with her one night. She wasn't feeling great, and she was like, "My blood pressure's been really high for like the last 4 days." And I'm like, "Okay, well, have you been taking your medications? Has anything changed? Like, do you have any new medications? Have you been hydrating? Just trying to work through certain problems." Come to find out, the next day, mom takes her to her primary care doc, and her inhaler had recently gotten changed, and it was
Oh,
giving her headaches, and so she stopped taking it, and so her
oh,
lungs were just really struggling, causing her blood pressure to go up. And it's like,
mm,
well, grandma, I could have said,
yeah,
probably we could have probably addressed this a few days ago if you would have told me.
yeah, yeah,
So that's another one of those examples of being more forthcoming with complete
yeah, yeah,
strangers
I
as
know.
opposed to your
Yeah.
family.
But I have a challenge for you. I would say call your grandma and say, look, I decided that I'm going to add online
Yeah,
service
yeah,
to my company, and I need someone to experiment with. And I'm wondering if you'll allow me to use you as my first patient.
yeah. So
Oh,
we've already done that. We got her added to the portal a couple weeks ago. So
that's good. Okay.
hoping
That's
that this will be maybe a more professional way for us to communicate once she gets back home. I think she's got about another week left of physical therapy before she can return home. She's working on getting stronger, getting back to walking without the walker. So um,
Mhm.
we are planning on doing that, and hopefully preventing this from happening again. So
Yeah. And then yeah, when she gets home, you'll continue on, right?
that's right.
So,
That's right.
well, I'm excited for what you're doing, and I hope that the people that listen to my podcast or this our interview here that they understand and they think about the fact that they have somebody like you and they can call you. I'll put your information in the description, so I'll put in your email and your phone number, and this way if somebody is interested they can give you a call and start to ask questions,
Yeah,
so
sure. Thank you.
yeah, and then we can get this out to a lot of the people that are in my networking and both networking groups that I'm in right now, and let them know because people don't know that you're available. So
All right.
I think I'm all for you. I'm behind you 100%. Okay,
Thank you.
so
Thank you.
I am definitely going to recommend you wherever I can. And I know that eventually I will have people that I can recommend you to. And the same thing, I'm doing the same thing. I expanded my retirement program, so I'm on whenever you start something, you're starting over every single day, every
Mhm.
day, right? It's like this is new every day. It's new. So until you get yourself really rolling and you get a whole bunch of clients, and then the only thing that's new is new concepts that you add on. But yeah, and you're in Tennessee, but hey, we just discovered everybody he can go anywhere. So now, I mean, there's going to be limitations to it, but the bottom line is you could catch something that they're not going to know, right?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. It's a great point.
Yeah.
We can go ahead and work on expanding further than this immediate area.
So, is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we sign off?
Yeah, there is one thing actually. If we have any nurses listening, one thing that's been pretty eye opening for me over the last this has been 4 months since starting this and kind of spreading the word, doing some networking is a lot of times as nurses, or at least this was my experience, we do our training, get our degree, and we're kind of molded to take this path of going and getting your experience working in med surg or ICU or step down, whatever it may be. And then once you have that experience under your belt, you go further on down to school, nurse practitioner, anesthesia, whatever whatever it is. And there's certainly a place for those people, and there is a need for that. But one thing that's been really eye opening for me during this process is seeing how many other people recognize the need for community nurses, um, and that this is definitely a alternate route for you to take. But there is such a strong need, a heavy need for these types of services in helping our seniors and families, have that independence at home, getting their time back, having that peace of mind. And I kind of hope to find that there are people out there willing to, privately pay for a service like this. And so I just kind of want to inspire maybe some other nurses who, may be trying to find their way professionally, that you are not limited to working in a hospital or working in a clinic, or,
Yeah.
doing what somebody else has molded you or, suggested you to do.
Yeah.
The options are endless. And so I hope that can just kind of maybe serve as some inspiration. And I'm happy to provide any kind of guidance I can for anyone who wants to know more. So,
Well, I happen to know two people that are going to be graduating their nursing program, I think, this year. So some friends of mine who have kids that have gone into nursing, and I think the bottom line is people will pay for it. It's a medical need, and they have to pay deductibles and a lot of other things. So there's no doubt in my mind that they'll understand that, and benefit, because you're saving them so much money in the long run, you
definitely.
know, so much money. If you
Yeah.
prevent them from going back to the hospital and all, I think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So that's one way I would say, I promote my business the same way. I'm saving them. Really, I've saved some people hundreds of thousands of dollars doing coaching for them because they didn't have a will.
Hmm.
They had a lot of money. So yeah, and then no POA or anything. Think about how much grief I saved some families because of that.
Of course. Yeah. And of course, there's certainly something to be said for the amount of money that can be saved, but also too, there's people out there who, value time over that. And, this is something, I mean, your service, my service, a lot of other services in our senior uh, industry here, provide not only uh, savings financially, but savings in time and peace of mind, and just
Mhm.
helping families to sleep a little bit easier at night, knowing that their loved one is properly cared for, or that, in a uh,
Mhm.
business like yours, that, their path is laid out for them to follow. And yeah, I think we're both setting up clients for success. So
For the future, and we
uh,
will for their peace of mind, both of us, for future with a peace of mind. So, and we'll partner together. So
yes,
everybody watch
absolutely.
out, because we're going to be partnering together. I will definitely be using Gus whenever I can.
Absolutely.
So congratulations on becoming a dad. So now you're going to celebrate the pre Father's Day this Sunday, right?
I guess I didn't even really think about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Technically, I guess it will be my first
Yeah.
Father's Day.
Yep, I'm sure the
Yeah,
baby will give you a good kick, or if you just say, "Hey, it's Father's Day," and they'll kick you. So,
yeah, he's definitely started doing that a lot more these last couple of weeks.
oh,
It's been
good, that's good.
pretty cool to
All
see.
right, well, I will see you soon, but so thank you so much for coming. I'm so happy that you gave this information to people that I think everyone is going to find it very interesting, and a great service. So,
Thank
okay.
you, Connie, and thank you for having me on and giving me the opportunity to share with everyone. Really
Yes,
appreciate
it was my pleasure. And I'll see you soon. I'll see you somewhere. We'll have coffee or something.
it.
Okay. All right,
Definitely.
guys. Have a good
Thank you,
weekend.
Connie.
All right. Happy Father's Day.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye.
Bye.